Hi guys, it's SimLicy here, so welcome to another apartment renovation. So today I am back with the third part to my mini series that I am doing where I'm recreating all of the friends' apartments in these Culpeper House apartments. So today I am sharing Phoebe's apartment and I absolutely love the way it turned out. I think it is so pretty and I think it actually worked out really well here in this Culpeper house, which I think is 17 Culpeper house. I'm not exactly sure, but you can always see the address on the top left-hand side of the screen. So if you want to place any of these apartments in your game, yeah, that's where you can find it. But I am just really happy with the way all of their apartments turned out. I have finished all of them. The next one that I will share is going to be Ross's, of course, so that's the last apartment. And I do think, well, actually, I know that Phoebe and Ross don't live in the same apartment building as Joey and Chandler and Monica and Rachel, but I thought it would be fun to turn all of the Culpeper House apartments into their apartments. I maybe should have probably done Phoebe and Ross's in the Jasmine Suites, but I don't know, I'm really happy with the placement of all of their apartments. Joey and Chandler's, if you guys did see that part, is the only one that I really had to get very creative with the shape of the apartment because the one that I was using was way too big for their apartment, so I kind of just blocked off half of the apartment and pretended it wasn't even part of their building, or at least part of their apartment. Maybe it's somebody else's apartment, but either way, I think they all turned out really nice. As you can see, I am starting off by decorating her living room. I think this is the most recognizable place out of Phoebe's apartment. Her apartment, though, is less recognizable, I feel like, compared to Joey and Chandler's and, of course, Monica and Rachel's, because even people who don't watch Friends or are like fans of the show can still recognize, you know, Monica and Rachel's apartment, but they may not recognize Phoebe's, and Phoebe's is actually my favorite apartment out of all of them. I love, like, the colors in her apartment. It feels so earthy and kind of, like, hippie in a way, and Phoebe's just my favorite character, so I was really excited to do her apartment, and I definitely wanted to get the living room as accurate as I possibly could. And I think this couch that we have from Base Game that I end up using with the pink pillows is very close to what she has, even though I think her pillows might be purple. And of course the shape of the couch isn't perfect, but it's still green with like a purpley pink pillow. And so I was really happy to have something in the game that was kind of similar to that. Over here along this wall, it's not perfect because of course I'm cutting into the window that's halfway into her bedroom and I'm covering it up with a curtain. I end up covering it up with a different curtain. So it's not perfect. And also the placement of the other window I think would be closer to where I have the chairs, but it still works out. It's of course not going to be 100% accurate because I can't change the exterior walls or the placement of the windows because that's just how apartments work in The Sims, but I made it work, and in places that I couldn't make 100% accurate, I tried to more give the essence, which I've mentioned in the previous parts to this series that I'm doing. And yeah, I'm just really happy with the way they all turned out, and it makes me want to go back and rewatch all of Friends because, like I've mentioned before, I have seen every episode multiple times. I grew up watching it. I watched all 10 seasons as a kid, and I really love this show. I really love this show, and I think it's very yeah, it's very funny and it's one of my favorite series, but I've realized that I've forgotten a lot. Like, so many of you guys have been leaving comments about certain items and apartments and like kind of like mentioning things about the series, and I'm like, oh, I totally forgot that happened. So I really feel like I need to sit down and rewatch the whole thing again, even though I'm pretty sure that they have taken it off Netflix in the US. At least I heard that they were going to, and I've mentioned this in, I think, the part where I shared Monica and Rachel's apartment, and so many of you guys were saying that it was still on, but I think a lot of you guys were from like other countries than the US. Like, I think a lot of the comments were from Canada and some other countries. I'm not exactly sure, but that would be amazing if it's still on because I can always use new things to watch, especially while I build, because a lot of builds that I've been trying to do lately have taken me a lot of hours. Like I mentioned recently, I finished a 64 by 64 lot, and I did share some pictures over on Twitter, and so many of you guys seem to like it over there, so I really appreciate it. I'm very excited to share it. It's going to be like an hour-long video. I have edited all the footage, and I've cut out everything that I think should be cut out or that's unnecessary, but I've of course left in basically everything. It's mostly a lot of landscaping, but it took me like 9 hours to complete the build. So I guess getting 9 hours into 1 hour is pretty good. Of course, it's sped up by like 700% or something, but Yeah, I am really thrilled with the build, and it's going to be like this Spanish mission build, and I built it in Dorada, so it's finally a community lot that I've built for Dorada for my save file, which I'm so excited about because that's a world that I really want to finish. I only have 2 more lots now to do, and I've really been wanting to do a community lot for that world, and now that I've completed one, it makes me really excited to do another one there, and maybe eventually redo the vacation houses there too. I think that could be pretty cool because now that I've done this particular style, I don't know why I'm talking about this because of course that's not what this build is about, but either way, I'm very excited about it, and it took me a long time was basically the point of my rambling. But as you can see, this whole back corner has basically came together. Phoebe does have a desk over here, at least I noticed in some of the pictures. Her apartment does change over time, and I think maybe at one point she moves, so it might be a different apartment. And also some of the pictures I saw, her apartment, like this main living area had yellow walls. Another point had these more turquoise walls. I went with the turquoise because I thought the yellow would be overpowering, but I do leave the yellow in most of the kitchen area because the only pictures I saw of her kitchen, the walls were definitely yellow. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the orientation of the kitchen like exactly right. I think the like island counter would face the living area, but I still think it works and it still feels like it belongs in Phoebe's apartment. I don't think you ever see her bathrooms. Maybe you do at one point, especially maybe the episodes where Rachel lives with her, but yeah, I kind of just made those up too, so hopefully you guys don't mind if you guys do know an episode where you can see her bathrooms. Hopefully I at least make it feel like it belongs here. Here you can see that I am trying to do this shelf. She has this really interesting kind of ornate shelf above her computer desk, and I was trying to recreate it, and I really couldn't find anything that I thought kind of made it feel like it, because it's kind of like this cabinet on a shelf. As you can see, I'm trying like a bunch of dressers, a bunch of shelves and cabinets trying to make it come together, but I ended up just putting some decorations up here, and I think it still looks really good. And then to the left, a lot of the pictures that I saw, she has like this built-in unit. It's basically just like some cabinets on the bottom and then some shelves on the top with like books and random decorations. And so I have this base game one here for now, but I end up using the one from Realm of Magic, and I felt like it just felt more like, Phoebe, and plus it had like the cabinets on the bottom, so that kind of looked a little bit more like what she had. So I was definitely really happy about that. And here you can see I'm finding the shelf now, and I try a lot of different ones, but I think the Realm of Magic one was definitely the best way to go. The biggest struggle I think I had with her apartment was the dining area. I definitely tried a lot of different dining tables and different chairs. You do see her dining area from different angles. Like I saw a few pictures of like the set as like a whole, and it was just like a simple brown round dining table with some brown chairs that kind of matched. But then I saw this other scene where she's sitting at the table with her brother, and she has like these kind of like retro yellowish 70s looking chairs. Unfortunately, we don't really have anything that's identical to that. Otherwise, I totally would have used it. But I end up going with the chairs that we have from Cats and Dogs, and I think that looks really good. This portion that I'm decorating right now, you never see of her apartment because it's always facing the other way, because it's of course a set. These aren't real apartments. I feel like I have to mention that in every part of this series, just in case you guys aren't really familiar with Friends, then maybe you aren't aware that they are just sets. So this part would be where all the cameramen are, the directors, all that kind of stuff. And so I tried my best to make it feel like the apartment. And over here, I'm not sure if there would be a bathroom here. I think there might actually be, but I really like the way the bathroom turned out. It's very simple. Like I said, I couldn't find any reference pictures of them, and I'm not sure if you ever see her bathrooms in the show at all, but I end up giving her 2 of them. So I have this one here, and then I end up placing another bathroom over on the right side of the living room if we're facing the living room, and I think that works really nicely. I think she does have like a doorway over there in her apartment, but that might be where the entry to her apartment is. But either way, I of course couldn't move the entryway to the apartment because we're working with the apartments from City Living, so I just kind of worked around it and gave her another bathroom. I do also think she would have 2 bedrooms, because like I mentioned, she did have Rachel live with her at one point in the show, and I think Rachel probably would have had her own bedroom. I'm not sure if you ever see her bedroom when she lived. When she lived there, I'm not exactly sure. But I did find quite a few reference pictures of Phoebe's bedroom. I watched this one little clip where Ross is in the bedroom talking to her about her bicycle, and so I mainly used that one because because I did find some other ones where some of the decorations were in some different places, but I mainly used that one clip as reference for her bedroom, and I think it worked out really nicely. But here you can see I'm decorating the kitchen. Unfortunately, I do think it's facing the wrong direction. I do think the island would be facing the living room, but it just worked out better this way for adding like the cabinets and stuff, because she definitely had some cabinets in here, and this was another room where I really couldn't find too many references of, so I mostly made it up. But one of the items that I found to look really similar to what I could see in the reference pictures was this painting of a flower she had next to a refrigerator, and we have something so similar to that, and it came with tiny living, so I'll end up placing that in here next to the refrigerator, and I think it looks so good. And other than that, I just kind of clutter up the counter space with a bunch of different decorations. It's not as cluttery as Joey and Chandler's apartment, for instance, or Monica and Rachel's. Those apartments are very cluttery, especially their kitchens have a ton of stuff. I definitely wanted her apartment to still have some clutter, but I didn't know if it really suited her apartment necessarily. But here's that painting I was talking about. So first I hung it up over here, and then I realized in the pictures it is next to the refrigerator, so I moved it over there, and I think it looks perfect. And then over here I do have a couple of debug items. So I have these little espresso cups that I actually sized up to look like bigger cups, and I think they look really good that way. And then a couple of bags of coffee, but I'm gonna pretend they're tea because I actually gave her a teapot, because I feel like Phoebe would be more of a like an herbal tea drinker. I think that suits her personality a little bit more than coffee. I mean, I think they all like coffee because of course they're always hanging out in Central Perk, which is a coffee shop, but maybe Phoebe orders tea more often than coffee. I don't know. So many of you guys have been asking for me to build Central Perk. I have actually built it before. I mentioned this when I did Monica and Rachel's apartment, but I did this entire apartment building way before I ever started YouTube, and I did share it as like a tour video, I think for my 20 subscriber special, and it's available on my gallery if you guys would like to download it. It has all of the apartments in one building, and Central Perk is on the first floor, and then, well, behind Central Perk is Phoebe's apartment and then Ross's apartment, and then on the second floor is Monica and Rachel's and Joey and Chandler's. And I really like the way that build turned out. Even today, I still think it's a really good build. I actually downloaded it so I could look at it while I was building these apartments. I didn't actually use it as reference. I was going to, and that was my original reason for downloading it, because I was going to see if maybe I wanted to use some of the same objects. I think the only thing that I really still wanted to use was this couch, because this couch is perfect. But here you can see over here, I am finally moving on to the dining area. Again, this part of the apartment, you don't really see a whole lot, but I did see a few pictures of them sitting here, and yeah, I tried my best to make it feel like it. I chose these chairs because it had that kind of yellow color. Like I mentioned, I did find this one reference where she was sitting with her brother, and the chairs were so cool. It really makes me want to have more like mid-century kind of retro furniture. I know we have quite a bit between Get Famous and the bowling stuff, and then even the tiny living stuff feels a little bit kind of mid-century-ish, and so we do have quite a bit of stuff, but I would like more like 70s looking stuff, maybe even like floral print couches. You know that like hideous floral couch that everybody had in like the 80s and 90s from like leftover from the 70s? I think stuff like that would be really cool, but yeah, either way, here you can see I'm just adding some decorations. I sized down this bookcase to look like a side table, and I think it actually looks really good. And then here I'm just copying over the bathroom stuff, basically just because I had the space for it. And yeah, I don't know. The bathroom's kind of plain and simple because really I just had no idea what to do in here, and it's really not the main focus of the apartment, but I still think it looks good, and I think it feels like Phoebe's apartment still, and that's like the whole point. But here you can see I'm moving on to the bedroom. So the bedroom, like I mentioned, I did use this one reference kind of short video of Ross and Phoebe talking in here about her bicycle. So I do place a bike in here, and I watched the scene like frame by frame trying to get the decorations right. So she has like this little nook over here. You can't see in the nook, so I think I end up placing just like a laundry basket, but you can see that there's a light in there. I do actually end up switching out that light for a different one because I realized the lights in her bedroom had a bit of a different shape. Now her bed though, I really struggled with picking out the right bed to use. This bed with this more like pinky corally color is really accurate to what you can see in her bed. Same with the green swatch. It's like a combination between those two colors because it's a knitted Afghan, but they definitely have those two colors throughout the bed, like the blanket on the bed. It was so close. So I wanted to use this bed so bad in either one of these colors, but the headboard was not right, and her bed definitely doesn't have a, like you can't see the frame at the end of the bed. The blankets just drape over the end of the bed. So I ended up actually using the bed that came from Seasons because it doesn't have a frame on the end. The color isn't perfect, but the shape of the bed was more accurate, and then I could use a different headboard. So I actually ended up getting kind of creative with the headboard. I tried a few different things, but I ended up using this sign that came from Cats and Dogs, and it actually works out really nicely as a headboard, so you'll see that later on. But over here, I'm trying to figure out this part of her bedroom. This is a part of the bedroom that you don't really see. You kind of see that there's a table over here because it's like the camera is behind the table and you see part of the decorations, and you can see that there's a dresser next to it. And so I just end up cluttering up the table with a bunch of random things that I felt kind of Phoebe-ish. I end up using several cat decorations in here, which I definitely meant to mention because she does have the song Smelly Cat, which is probably one of Phoebe's most iconic things of the show because of course she plays her guitar at Central Perk. So I add 2 guitars in here and then cat decorations throughout our apartment to sort of pay tribute to that part of Phoebe's personality and her part of the show. And I ended up using this dresser that came from Cats and Dogs or Parenthood. Yeah, actually I think it came from Parenthood, but it was actually really similar to the dresser that I could see from the reference pictures, except for I think her knobs were like a black knob, I think. But either way, the shape of it and the whole design worked out really nicely. And she does have this dark rug at the foot of her bed, and I would never place like a dark strip of a rug at the end of a bed. I would place like a larger rug in a different color underneath the bed, but either way, it's what I saw, so that's what I went with. But here you can see I'm going through a bunch of random objects. Now her headboard is actually this metal frame that has all of these like curves and twists, and it's really pretty. I wish we had something that I could have found that would look close to it. I mean, the thing that I end up using I think is the closest thing, at least that I could possibly find. It's not metal, it's wood, but it works out really nicely. Here I was going to use this like room divider that I think came from Get Together if I remember correctly. I really like the way this looks as a headboard. I'm definitely going to have to try this in a future build for a different bedroom, but it just wasn't right for Phoebe's room because it just didn't look close enough. So the thing that I end up using I think actually looks really good, but the bed was like such a struggle for me. It was so difficult. I really wish we had more realistic looking beds in the game. Like I like a lot of the beds, like the ones from Seasons are probably my favorite, especially the one that I end up using in here because the blankets actually have more texture to them and they're kind of like draped on the floor a little bit more. I just wish we had like fluffier, comfier looking beds, that even some messy beds. I actually got a comment about this a while ago where one of you guys were saying that you would like to see a bed that was actually just messed up, where like maybe it wasn't made or things don't necessarily match, like they had mismatched pillows or something. It just didn't look that put together. I would absolutely love that because the beds that we have just look so just put together. I don't know. Either way, here you can see I'm trying to find some different decorations. Another thing that I kind of struggled with was finding the right artwork to put above her bed, but she does have like these 3 pictures in these white frames. So I went with these ones and they actually worked out really nicely. And then other than that, she has the bicycle in here, of course, because I was watching the scene where she is trying to hide her bike from Ross in her bedroom. She has like this sheet draped over it. It's so funny, but yeah, so I included that, the guitars, and then the side tables actually I think were different sizes next to the bed, and I did try that out. You guys don't see it on here, but I did not like the way it looked. Even though it would be a little bit more accurate to her room, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But these side tables that I end up using actually look really similar to what I could see in the pictures, so yeah, I was really happy about that. We didn't necessarily have the right bedside lamps, but they had white shades on them, so I went with these ones. Yeah, and then other than that, for like the decorations on the side tables, I just put random things. I think some like books and like that clock, and I'm not exactly sure. I can't 100% remember, but I think it looks really good. But here you can see I am finally switching to this bed. I don't use it in the brown swatch though. I do switch it to a blue one because I felt like the brown was too far away from the colors that I could see in her original bed. but the frame or the headboard actually worked out so nicely. I'm really happy with it. And then other than that though, I do find this shelf that goes to the right of the pictures hanging above her bed. It's not identical to what you can see in her bedroom, but I still think it looks really good. She does have this other shelf thing that would be where the window is to the right of the bed, but unfortunately there's a window there and I can't change that. But she has like this these birdhouses hanging from it, or at least like flowers in a birdhouse. It was kind of hard to like get a clear picture of it, but we do have a birdhouse that came from, I forget exactly which pack it came from, but you'll see me place it here in a moment. It's actually on a stick, so you would actually place it in your yard to look like it's stuck in the ground. But I size it down and merge it into the side table, and it actually looks like it's sitting on the table, and I think it looks really good. So you'll see it here in just a little while. Yeah, there it is. I sized it down, it looks so cute. It really looks like it's sitting on the side table, so I was really happy about that. And then here I'm just decorating these shelves to have a few random different objects on it, just to feel cluttered and lived in. And then this is basically it for her entire apartment. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this apartment renovation, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to Ross's apartment. So thank you so much for watching, and please leave any comments or suggestions that you have, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye!